All right, we are live again. All right, coming up this week, bad guys helping good guys, bad guys fighting bad guys, bounty hunters, Sith, Night Sisters. You know what's coming next. Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria, all of that and more. This was one hell of a season finale, and we have some bonus Tales of the Empire. All that and more this week. It's a lot. We've got a lot to unpack, boys. So, are you guys ready?
Let's do it.
Always ready.
All right, let's run it. All right. Hey there, Star Warriors. Welcome to Star Wars Safe Space, your non-toxic, low-sodium Star Wars show that doesn't make you feel bad for not knowing that Sam Witwer, who provided the voice for our man Darth Maul, is also the voice of Palpatine and portrayed Starkiller in the Force Unleashed games and was on Battlestar Galactica. He is a certified nerd. And if you think you know more about Star Wars than Sam does, you are sorely mistaken. You are. I don't think George Lucas himself knows more about Star Wars than Sam does. Maybe Dave Filoni, maybe. I don't know. All right. So whether you're a hardcore Star Wars fan or just a little Swarzy curious, this is your Star Wars safe space. So welcome. So we are the Circle of Nerds, and we do absolutely love Star Wars, even if we don't always like it. So let's meet the crew, shall we? So, pilot of the infamous Parma Flyer, it's Crash.
Hey, everybody. S-Foil's locked, and let's do it.
I don't know if I want to fly with someone named Crash. It seems counterintuitive.
But I survive.
Very true.
Survivor.
So it's like calling
Your
a tall guy.
passengers survive.
Well, yeah, there you go. Another happy landing. And from parts unknown, it is T to the Oni.
Welcome back to the galaxy, everybody.
AKA Jedi Master Ba Loni. We haven't used that in a while.
We have not.
All right. And I'm Tommy. What's up? All right. So what are we doing? Well, very simple. We are on a mission to watch all of the canon Star Wars films and TV shows in chronological order, breaking them down, connecting the dots, and learning a bit more about Star Wars and maybe even about ourselves. So if you're ready to go on this ride with us and jump to light speed, please be warned, all you would-be Star Warriors, there will be spoilers. So we're going to get into it. We've got a lot to unpack. So this week we're talking about season 4, episode 19 through 22, plus episode 1 of Tales of the Empire, which slots right in there between episode 19 and 20. So it's episode 19 and then episode 1, Tales of the Empire, and then we've got 2021, 22. Well, before we get into it, Crash, you said you got some news for us, yeah?
Yeah. Right now, Star Wars Celebration Japan's starting to take shape, and if you're paying attention or if you're lucky enough that you want to be able to head out there, the guest lineup starting to take shape. Alan Tudyk, Anthony Daniels, Ashley Eckstein, a lot of the regulars that you see at celebrations the last few years. Diego Luna and Oscar Isaac are getting added.
What?
It's huge. Oh, and Manny Chimere. I can't ever say his last name. Great dude. Can't say his last name. Anyways, they're all going. And as you're going to get closer, the artwork, the exclusive artwork for the convention, some of those were released. I posted one on our Facebook group. You know us, we love that Umbara arc. And I saw that one, and it was just like, damn. Joe Crony, I love you, but I'm buying somebody else's work for once. The badge artwork looks great. Very, very Japanese centric. There's a lot of Japanese style artwork being incorporated into it. If you get a chance, go on the official website, look it up. There's some really great stuff. You'll find something for your wall. Trust me.
Keep talking about it. I'm gonna try to grab it. Keep talking.
Okay.
Keep talking. Try to grab it. Pull it in.
And if you haven't been to a Star Wars Celebration before, a lot of times there's so many exclusives that it's hard to keep up with. And the artwork's great. You start to meet some of the new artists that work regularly with Lucasfilm. I'm a big Joe Caroni fan. I've been friends with him for years. On one of my other walls, I've got one of his prints from the Chicago Con. It was a Rogue One. My crush for Jenner, so knows no bounds. I finally bought the big print of that. It's up there. Meeting the actors from the shows. Like I said, Ashley is all over the place, but Celebration brings out the big guns, and it's one. If you're a Star Wars fan, yeah, that's the Umbara one.
There it is. God, that is gorgeous. all of our podcast listener, I'm sorry you can't see this, but do head over to our YouTube channel and you can check this out. As you know, we do love the Umbara arc, and this. I mean, that is just absolutely gorgeous.
I didn't catch the name of the guy who did it though. I when I posted, I just copy pasted. But I mean, I want to look up his other work. This is just beautiful.
Yeah, it looks like Joe Hogan.
That's it, Joe Hogan.
The name of the artist. I think that's what's on there, Joe Hogan.
Okay.
So yeah. All right, that's God. I wish I could go. I've always wanted to go to Japan, and to go to Celebration in Japan. Are you kidding me? I wouldn't come back.
I did London, and London was a big deal for my family. Went with me, my sister and I. We went to the convention. We left mom and dad at the hotel and said, "Okay, we're going." We came all the way to Europe. We're still going to a Star Wars convention, and I mean, they're just a blast.
Yeah, my first and only Celebration was Germany, so that was really, really cool. And I was rocking my Rex, and I dropped my helmet twice. Once about like maybe 20 minutes before the costume contest,
and a collective gasp from everybody around you, because once you hear that plastic crunching sound, everybody knows what that means. I had been in Rex since about 7 o'clock in the morning, and I had meant to kit down, but because of the way the panels were lined up and there were different photo ops and things like that, the costume contest was later on in the day. I was dehydrated. I was fatigued. The helmet that I have is one of the back off helmets from Kevin Weir of Imperial Armory, which the finest clone armor on planet Earth, bar none. He does not sponsor us in any way, but do check out Kevin Weir's. You will not find finer animated clone trooper armor anywhere on planet Earth. I promise you that. But I was, with other buckets, you can hold it anywhere and it's fine. But because it has the back off mod, it's meant to seal tight around your neck. Mm-hmm. So when you put it on, the back of it is held on with like a piece of Velcro, and it pops open so it can get onto your melon, and then it snaps back into place with magnets. Because with other buckets, you can see up into the bottom. But of course, in Clone Wars, that's like everything is snug to the neck. Mm-hmm. So I was, again, it was at the first drop happened at the Carrie Fisher panel. I grabbed the back of it, and the Velcro pulled loose, and the whole thing just hit the ground. No damage. I was like, all right, cool. So I put the back, and then we were outside getting some fresh air, and I did the same thing again, and the little Frankenstein bolts that are on Rex's helmet, those popped off. So I had to run to the hotel, get the glue them back on, and I was able to make the contest with 10 minutes to spare, if that. And I got second place. So nice.
Yeah, behind an incredibly stupid accurate Boba Fett, an ESB Boba. But he's a good guy. He's a member of the British garrison. Super cool guy. And I mean, if you're gonna lose first place to anybody, I'm good that it's Boba. So
my pilot costume, I had a helmet. I had a gold leader in our Shadow Squadron colors helmet. A little easier to carry, but I never wore mine. I always had it in the NASA promo photo, tucked under the arm. Because I always had to hear what was going on at events. Because once you put those things on, man, it is like radio silence.
Yeah.
So done. I'd always have it tucked under my arm, or a lot of times I just left it at home. The beauty of the Rebel pilots was, we don't have to have our helmets on. So it was like, I remember when we did Celebration Orlando, and it was the big group photo day, and everybody's in their best gear. And afterwards, I was like, okay, I'm gonna walk 2 blocks down to our hotel, strip into street clothes and come. I had to take a rickshaw back. I was so exhausted from the humidity and the hike.
Yeah.
I was just like, no, man, I'm not walking back. I'll pay the $20. The kid, this guy can pedal me back to the convention center.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm actually thinking about putting together a Rebel pilot because I've got a TIE pilot already, and I'm kind of, because of modern day events, I've really become kind of disillusioned with the Empire. Most people are drawn to the Empire because they just look cool.
Oh, I was supposed to have a TIE pilot.
Yeah,
my first costume was supposed to be a TIE pilot, and for various reasons, it turned into a Death Star trooper, which turned into I never wear it, which turned into I like the orange better.
Yeah, and that was mine. Mine was the Imperial crewman, because it's basically the TIE pilot but without the bucket and the chest box and all that.
Yeah.
So I did that while I was waiting on the purchase of the bucket and the chest piece. But yeah, it's cool. I mean, but that's the thing, bad guy gear always looks cool, but now I'm kind of like, I'm kind of, leaning more towards the plucky rebels and their sense of hope, because brothers and sisters, guys and gals and non-binary pals, do we need a little hope right now?
Yes,
in
we
the
do.
galaxy?
Yes,
All right,
yes,
so
we do.
Speaking of hope,
what's that?
speaking of hope, we should get into this episode.
Yes, we should. Yes. One more bit of news. We do have a brand new Facebook group. So if you would like to join us there, just look for our Facebook group. It's just called Swarzy Curious, SWARSY Curious. And you'll find us there. It is a private group, and we are wanting to keep it very, very tightly maintained. We don't want these salty, toxic fandom menace folks in there. So if you enjoy the show, if you don't listen to the show, I don't know how you're going to find out about this without listening to the show, but if you just want that non-toxic, low sodium Star Wars environment where you can be free to ask questions and people aren't going to make you feel like an idiot, you can talk about how much you love the Acolyte and no one's going to make you feel bad for it. You can, you can misquote something. You can, misrepresent something, not on purpose, of course, don't misrepresent anything. But, if you say, Leia was in cell block, AB 25, it's okay. It's okay. Someone will correct you. But not make you feel stupid for not knowing it. So again, Star Wars Safe Space is for folks that just legit need a safe space to hang out, and talk about Star Wars their way without hate. You can critique, of course, always critique, but you don't have to shit on people because they don't believe the same things that you do. So
Exactly. You're allowed to have your own opinions. You're allowed to have your own hot takes. Just don't shit on anybody else's.
Absolutely. 100%. All right. So let's get into it. Man, we do have a lot to unpack. So this was 2 arcs kind of woven together. I would say they're 2 separate-ish arcs, but they are. So, but we get to see, this is our first look at Morgan Elsbeth and the tragedy of her and the rest of her clan. And I assume the Mountain Clan as well, maybe, but then again, maybe not, because the Mountain Clan, they were kind of she was kind of on her business. So we're looking at Massacre, Path of Fear, and Bounty. Those were kind of the ones that kind of go together. So we're seeing that. And if you guys have anything that you want to talk about, definitely jump in, because these were all very, very heavy episodes. So the order that you really want to watch these is episode 19, then Tales of the Empire, episode 1, and then 20, 21, and 22 in that order. And then you'll get that whole nice story there. We are seeing we're seeing Dooku throwing a temper tantrum, basically. because he got embarrassed. Pretty much, he got embarrassed. So he wants Asajj dead. He wants, Mother Talzin dead. He wants, the Night Witches wiped out. But is that because he was embarrassed, or is it because he knows what kind of a threat they are to him? What do you guys think?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of column A. I think it's more column B. Yeah, I mean, my only frustration with Dooku in this particular thing is he kept saying, "Oh, she betrayed me. She betrayed me." Dude, you betrayed her first. Like,
yeah,
like what the fuck, man?
And that's pretty typical bully behavior, though, right? I mean, they don't want to, they want to pile it on, but as soon as you start trying to make a comeback, they're like, no, we can't have that. But we got to see it was the voodoo stuff. I mean, the voodoo stuff was making me, I was laughing my ass off. I mean, that was it's like you don't expect it. Sherry and I were watching this, and even Sherry was like, whoa, wait, what? DACA, we had zombie Night Sisters. Can we just please talk about the absolute terror of zombie Night Sisters? Please.
Yeah, it was kind of an interesting new twist. We've always had this concept of the Force and this energy field that connects living things. But after they're dead, you sort of assume, like, we all kind of believe, like, that's sort of the end of that cycle. Apparently, for the Night Sisters, they can dabble in things that some would consider unnatural. and it's interesting to watch us. You were saying with Dooku acting like a bully. Remember, he's the apprentice. He's the number two. He's the number two in this relationship. But I think in these episodes, you see him trying to flex his authority, his ownership of the Confederacy, and I think it was a lot of, he's making deals with Mother Talzin behind Palpatine's back, and I think when she's starting to become a player in the Clone Wars, that's gonna ruffle Palpatine's feathers eventually.
Right.
And I think that's why I think a lot of this was just taking a player off the board. Ventress was sort of collateral damage, take my kid to work day kind of, she was never really a Sith apprentice. She was always sort of just a Force sensitive assassin.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when he turned on her and betrayed her, and all of this started, it was really, you could tell this was Dooku trying to preserve his place in the hierarchy. To borrow Dwayne Johnsonism, he's the number two. He's the apprentice to Darth, Palpatine. Yeah. And it's just like, okay, these chicks stepped out of line. I'm going to send Grievous and the droids, and we're just going to wipe them off the board.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened, unfortunately. Despite that, I mean, and you bring up a good point about their magic. Obviously that it's in some way Force based, but when they reanimated those corpses, I think that those ladies had moved on into the Force or whatever it is that they believe. It's just their rotting corpses that were left. It was terrifying. But it was very interesting. It's interesting to see other people in the galaxy wield this power in a different way, and arguably in a potentially more powerful way. But it also, I mean, it's kind of a given. You can find it. You just follow the green mist, and then there you go. So it's not, I mean, other practitioners of the Force, it's invisible. You don't see it. It's just all of a sudden you're getting choked out. But yeah, with the Night Sisters, you can kind of follow them back to their hidden lair.
And you gotta love Dave. You guys have covered Ahsoka when it came out, but we see a little bit of that later on with the Night Sisters in Ahsoka. The Night Troopers, they call them, are basically the same as these Night Sister zombies under
Right.
those buckets. So when,
Yeah.
when they make that screeching sound and the eyes are glowing green, my first thought was, oh man, first off, Dave remembers everything. Filler episode is prologue to him, and I mean,
Right.
this was a great thing. A call back to the Night Sisters later on in Ahsoka when they can bring dead troopers back to be basically just self-regenerating red shirts.
And and that's what's interesting about Dave too. It's like I really feel like Dave is sitting around the kitchen table sometimes and he's like, man, what can we do for a series, or what can we do for an episode? You know what? Let me go back to the episode with Jar Jar, and he's on Rhodia, and you know what? There was a guy in the background that was just a placeholder. Let's go ahead and make an entire story around this guy and make him the brand new protagonist of this new series. Yeah, that'll be great. And that's Dave. I feel like that's how his brain works. Like it's like unintentional prologue. I think a lot of times he's like, this is just one and done. We're just going to put this guy, looks cool. He's just in the cantina or whatever. And then 15 years later, now our heroes are fighting that guy. So now let me ask you this. We at the same time, while this is happening, I assume that during the time that Grievous was on his way to find Mother Talzin, that's maybe when he encountered Morgan Elsbeth, because we don't see them directly tied to Mother Talzin. So they potentially a different clan completely. So along his way, he runs into them and then all that happens. So with this is my question with hold on. I had another question. I'm sorry. I'm all over the place tonight. You had mentioned Dooku being the apprentice. So my question is, knowing what we know about Dooku and knowing, his dealings, his little side hustles and things, it's expected for the apprentice to sauce the master and take on their own apprentice. Do you think Dooku would have done that eventually, or would he have just stayed a loyal apprentice and Palpatine knew that, which is why he had, well, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but he had things happen. But do you think that Dooku had it in him to actually betray and murder Palpatine so he could become, the true, Dark Lord of the Sith?
So I would say no, because he, like, the last episode of this podcast that we just did is when he could have done it.
Yeah.
Like, if he wanted to take out Palpatine, that was the time to do it. And he had ample opportunity if that was his intention.
Okay. So more faithful number 2 with maybe no ambition to take that number 1 spot.
I just think he realizes just how powerful Palpatine is to have gotten to the position that he's in, the long-term planning. I think he just knows he can't beat Palpatine.
All right, Crash, what do you think?
I think he was a loyal number 2 in that whatever Palpatine sold him on this idea of starting the Clone Wars, I think Dooku's arrangement was that he would become the public face of the Confederacy, and he would run the Confederate government. And then when they broker a deal with the Republic to split, and they just sort of go their separate ways, Dooku would run Camp A and Palpatine would run Camp B, plus tell him what to do.
Right.
So I think he never had any ambitions to betray his master, but I have a feeling he wanted just this, like I said, he had this comfortable power hierarchy within the Confederacy, and Ventress and Mother Talzin are a threat to that.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I agree. I don't think that he ever had his eyes on the prize of being like the Sith Lord. I don't think that was. I think that there was a symbiotic relationship between the two of them. Palpatine needed Dooku's influence and, you know, his power. But I think Dooku also legitimately wanted to see an end to the corruption and then just the rotten core that was the Republic. But, you know, of course, you know, he got twisted by Palpatine and started doing things the wrong way. But I really don't think that he was ever really had his sights set on becoming that evil Dark Lord. He just wanted things to be the way that they were supposed to be. In his mind, the way that they were supposed to be. So now, seeing Morgan, we saw what happened with, of course, Asajj. She once again narrowly escapes. Same thing with Morgan, and we're going to see a lot more of her. Not as much as I would like, because she's a great character. So I would have liked to have seen more. But do we have, knowing now, if we're watching everything in chronological order, this is your first time meeting Morgan. So we don't want to go too far ahead in that. But do you feel genuine sympathy for these two women, knowing the route that they've taken, especially Asajj? I mean, she has been a thorn in the side of the Jedi and the Republic. She's killed a lot of clones. But we see that, you know, this desire to be part of something bigger, you know, this need to be part of some sort of a family unit. It's really what drives her, seemingly. You know, we got a little taste of that and it's not canon anymore, I know, but in the 2D micro series, you know, she wanted so badly to be part of this Sith conclave with Dooku and Palpatine, and of course she ends up getting betrayed by them again. But so yeah, do you after these two episodes, are you feeling any sympathy? Do they deserve sympathy, these two? For I mean, Morgan, we really, you know, at this point I would say yes. But what about Asajj? What do you guys think about that? Like, is she still deserving of a little sympathy, or it's like, nah, fuck that kid, she deserves everything she gets? What are your thoughts?
I think so. This is the part where Asajj Ventress starts to become more than just a trope. You know, she was in the micro series. She was just the Sith chick with two blades,
Right.
something different than we've seen. Even in the beginning of this series, you know, okay, she's Dooku's assassin. She's got two blades. There's what we see later. There's a bit of a flirtiness between her and Obi-Wan, even as adversaries, much less allies temporarily. That's great. We'll get into that.
We'll get into that.
But it's the kind of thing where in this arc you start to see where she was being mistreated. She was being manipulated because she desired a family unit of some kind besides the Night Sister. Yeah, I have a feeling Dooku. I don't know if this was officially canon, but I always got the sense that whatever partnership Talzin and Dooku had, she was sort of the player to be named later and added. Yeah, she becomes his assassin as part of whatever partnership they had. So she was traded away from her family to Dooku, who betrays her. She comes home, and we see this. They're reintegrating her into their coven, and she even said, "This carnage, this army that's coming here is because of her. She brought it on her home."
She did, and she felt bad for that.
Yeah,
I mean, she felt regret. I mean, regret is not a trait of the Sith.
No,
the Sith have no regrets. They're just forces of nature. They do what they do, and regret is a weakness. Tony, what do you think? Sympathy, yay or nay?
So for Morgan, definitely at this point, we don't I don't at this point have enough to say, you know, that she was on an evil path to begin with. But you know, hey, when your home gets invaded for something that you had nothing to do with, and you know, your entire family and clan is killed off, yeah, you're gonna have some anger, you're gonna have some resentment. I don't blame her in the slightest for that. Now, obviously what we will come to learn about her role in the future, it becomes kind of a, well, if you're siding with the Empire and they're the ones who ultimately were responsible for that, well, that's kind of fucked up. But at this point, yeah, I've certainly got some sympathy. As for Asajj, I definitely like these episodes and that story that they're telling certainly give me some empathy and sympathy for her. I just, at this point, I mean, if you recall back when we first started getting into this and we watched Tales of the Jedi, there was a lot of talk about how I love the character of Dooku and that backstory and how he became who he is.
Right.
And now with these, I really want to see that same thing for her, because I think there is a lot more depth to her character now than what we're used to seeing and what we've seen in the past. And depending on how that goes, she may be a very sympathetic character. I just don't know yet.
Right. Right. And you know what? And let's build on that as we go into the episode Bounty, right? We really get to see, there was a lot of fan service in this episode. You know, we got to see Bosk, we got to see Boba. I've never been a fan. What's that?
We got a little bit more Embo.
More Embo. I've never been a fan of young Boba in the Clone Wars. I love Boba Fett, but he's just such an angsty teen. It's just like, dude, you're so emo. Just dial it down a notch. I get it. You saw your dad beheaded. You're angry, dude. But he just is like giving off like trust fund brat vibes. It's like you're the brat bounty hunter. Just relax. The man is capable. The young man is capable. We've seen him fight. You know, he can handle himself. But I'm just like, oh God, he just irks me. I just want to like, and then like seeing Asajj's interactions with him, I love it. Like she is like that big sister, or just someone needs to smack this guy in the mouth. Someone just, oh, but shut up. Just shut up. So seeing Asajj in this, like for me anyway, it gives, now she's definitely earning some sympathy points. You know, she's earning some empathy points because from the get-go, Bosk, Dengar, and Razzie, they were kind of like strong-arming her. And I'm watching this and I was like, you know, gang, she could like sauce you like in 5 seconds. You're not bullying her. You're not scaring her. She needs you right now, kind of. But I thought that was funny. I thought, you know, Bosk, you know, trying to threaten her and pressure her. And then Boba trying to threaten her. I'm like, come on, kid. No, just knock it off. It's not going to happen. Because she really could have taken all of them out and then just done the job herself. But she didn't. And then once she's faced with the job and she finds out the truth, the double cross happens. And dare I say, does she have a foot on the path towards the light side at this point? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Because this is, I was like, oh, all right, Asajj, I'm feeling you. I'm feeling you.
So I will say this particular episode for me, Asajj was giving Jack Sparrow vibes.
Okay.
Not necessarily bad or good, just doing their own thing.
All right. Self-interest. Self-preservation.
There's that line that kind of got glossed over a little bit, where you find out how he became who he is, and he says, people aren't cargo. And that very much reminded me of this, where once she realizes what the package is,
right,
she says, you know what? No, and to be fair, we could say, yeah, well, she also did it to get a second payday. But
which she did.
Well, she did the right thing.
She did the right thing. You're
absolutely. And she even gave them the. You know, she only took her cut. She could have taken the whole case and like split.
Yeah.
She got her cut and a little extra. Yeah. So I mean, so that was. It was nice. So she got like a double ransom payment, you know, and that's cool. So yeah, I get it. Yeah, that's a good point, Tony. A little Jack Sparrow vibes, but she has a moral compass. Surprisingly.
Yeah.
Crash, what's your take on it?
I thought, again, this is one of those, filler episodes, prologue, and with her, we're seeing she doesn't quite know her path. She knows.
Oh yeah,
she doesn't like she's given up on the Dooku path. The Night Sister path's been taken away from her. I liked at the end when she's talking to Bosk and the guys about, like, I've been where you are now. You guys think you're these hot bounty hunters. You can just go and do what you got to do to make money. Everybody works for somebody. It was a line they used in Solo. Kira uses in Solo, and I think Ventress was very hip to the fact that, okay, these bounty hunters think they're the big dog on campus, but you work for somebody, and if that somebody is not the best moral character, you're taking bad jobs, you're risking your life for bad jobs because you need credits. And because she could have just fallen in with this crowd and literally become the new alpha in no time.
Oh, she could have 100% taken that crew over. No one would have stopped her.
And just put a little angsty Boba in his place and run the show. But I think she was very reluctant to sort of get burned again. She took the job because okay, she killed one of their guys, and they basically were going to blackmail her into doing this gig. But it doesn't mean she has to join the band. It doesn't mean she has to stay with them. No. And then once she found out, and then once she realized the moral murkiness of what the cargo and what the job entailed,
right?
I love the fact that she pulled the switch on him to basically, and didn't let him open the case until she was gone, and that's a very slick way of screwing over the bad guy, really.
I'm just gonna say this, and I don't know if it's a hot take or not, but Asajj is just sexy, and I don't even necessarily mean that in a sexual way. I just mean, like, she's so smooth, she's so sarcastic, she's one of those quote unquote villains that you love to hate, but I'm really not even getting villain vibes from her anymore. I'm getting very close to anti-hero, very close. She's not quite there yet, but we've got a couple people watching. Let us know what you think. Like, what are your thoughts on Miss Asajj Ventress? Is she just that Jack Sparrow type character, or is she on the path to being more of an anti-hero? Because you could even with Jack Sparrow, you could argue that he's got a moral compass, but I wouldn't even say he's an anti-hero necessarily. He's maybe not quite there yet either. So I don't know. Let us know, all of our viewer. Let us know.
Asajj has got the Riz.
She really does. She really does. Like, if I were making her a character in any sort of RPG, she would have to have at least like an 8 charisma, at least, if not more. But
and she's such a great foil to Obi-Wan. Some of the best villain hero relationship. Like, there's obviously opposite gender. There's a quote sexual tension that people like to read into these things, but I think just as straight up character to character, she counters his flirty, witty snark. It's Fred and Ginger. Yeah, they have this dance between them even when they're fighting.
And she can out snark Obi-Wan. I mean, like, again, Sherry and I were watching this, and that's a great segue. Let's move on into Brothers, because that's where was it Brothers or was it Revenge?
It was Revenge.
It was Revenge.
Brothers was mostly the Savage fighting.
Then we'll circle back since we're on this. This dance that we've seen, since the very beginning, since the Clone Wars movie, we've seen this dance between the two of them, and it's just fun to watch. And I so badly would have loved to have seen, maybe not the two of them in a romantic relationship, but almost like a buddy comedy sort of thing. I would love to have seen, like, I think we're getting a Kenobi season 2. I believe that's that's either happening or it's in the works.
I've heard everything from it's in the talks to there may be a cameo by Ewan in season 2 of Ahsoka, like a
right.
So does that count? Does that cover the? We'll find out. Nothing's been formally announced yet. Once Celebration Japan happens, we might get some new information.
Oh, we're gonna get new information in Japan for sure. That's gonna happen. I really, really hope that we get Asajj somewhere in live action because she's not dead. She won't die. And we need it. And what better than to put her in the Kenobi series?
Oh, that's
good.
That's good.
I mean, like I was really hoping in season 1 of Kenobi that she would have found him down and out. But that's got to happen. I mean, that's the trailer. I mean, that's the trailer for season 2. Obi-Wan is sitting in a market in a cafe somewhere, and then in the background, all you hear is Kenobi, and that's it. Like that's it. You don't even have to show her. It's just the way she says his name. It's just, it's like a fine wine or like a port. It's just. Kenobi. It's like, love her. I'm getting way more respect.
It needs to be in Dax's diner, and she walks in. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. And again, we don't even have to see her. It's like a slow, like a slow crawl towards Obi-Wan's face. He's just sitting there, contemplative, thinking about everything. And as the camera gets closer and closer, he's just kind of like staring down at his Jawa juice. And then you just hear it in the background, Kenobi. And he just looks up.
The only trick's going to be, and they kind of did it with Lars Thrawn. You almost got to find the voice actress, and you almost got to see if you can put her in enough makeup, whatever you got to do to make her look like Ventress. I know a lot of shows, they sort of draw the character sort of to resemble the actor.
They do.
But that, just like with Thrawn, that voice is what really sold it. That to cross over from animation to live action and the other way around with Bo-Katan, where it's just like, oh, you got it.
It has to be, because it is the voice and the attitude and all of that. I think you could find an actress to do that. I mean, it's
Rosario's done a great job with Ahsoka. She's not Ashley, but she plays a much older version of Ashley. Yeah,
an older version. So I think that, if we could have that, because God, that would be so great. And then that could potentially even be an opening for more Quinlan Voss, because Quinlan and Asajj were knocking boots. They were doing the no pants dance, I believe. So that would be very interesting. Do we know if Voss is alive at this time? I don't know. I haven't kept up on it.
There's a mention of him in Obi-Wan Kenobi as part of the path.
Right.
But we don't see him. We don't know if he's like currently alive at the time he's mentioned, but he's been referenced. And even the difference between him in the comic books, he's a much gruffer kind of guy versus like as we see him in Clone Wars. He's more of like a mellow surfer dude. It's going to be
cool.
Yeah,
he's cool, and I think that he's a good match for Asajj, because she's very flirty and playful, but she's a little stiff. And Quinlan is, like you said, he's that surfer dude, and I would love to see a little romantic comedy with them. I'm not a fan of rom-coms, but I'd watch that.
Take that, Disney Plus.
Right? But no, we got to see Asajj in dealing with Kenobi in some way. So we're talking about Revenge, the episode Revenge, and she comes to save the day, and it's like you said, their quips. They're back and forth. It's so amazing to watch. It's so well written.
And I know we're going to come back to the first half of that arc, but this was big. We were talking before the show. I remember I was at Celebration 6 in Orlando, and they had a red carpet premiere for the new season because everybody was jazzed about Darth Maul being back. And I had to go digging through the archives. I still got the poster.
Oh, look at that.
This guy. And
That's
it's just
beautiful.
And this was it. It was the Maul brothers back, in action.
Lift it up a little bit more. What's on the bottom? It's got the Clone Wars. Okay.
Clone Wars logo. They had a new day and time. I can't remember when it originally aired. It was they moved to like Saturday morning, I think, and that was like, prime time cartoon time, because this is when the show was really cooking, and they wanted a good time slot. But this idea that a guy who we thought was dead in episode 1 is coming back. He'd been in some cool non-canon alternate universe stories like Vision and stuff like that. They had a thing with him with the prosthetic legs, and there was all sorts of great, the spider look that we first see Darth Maul in. Everybody was excited because there was all this cool art that we had been seeing for years. Dave went, I'll take a little bit of that. I'll take a little bit of that. Jumble it all together. I got a brother. So now we got, the master and apprentice of these two. They hadn't quite figured out that hierarchy yet, but just two horned badass dudes on a trip for revenge. It was going to be Kenobi and Maul, the rematch.
And so now let's circle back to that. Let's get, because we could do an entire episode on the vibe that is Asajj and Kenobi, but the episodes even started hard with they changed the color of the red logo. Just like, whoa, wait a minute, something's about to happen. And
it was all about the Maul, man. It was all about Maul.
And tip of the hat to Sam, crushes it. Sam brought something, because Maul was a very one-dimensional character. He was just a henchman. He was just that guy. He wasn't
known as a talker. He didn't have a lot of lines in the movie because they had to dub Ray Park's weird voice.
Right.
And to get Sam, who just masterclassed it.
Yeah, because in the live action, we don't get much from Maul. He's a Darth. We know that he's Sidious's number 2, but he just felt more like an attack dog than an actual Sith partner. I think that's exactly what he was meant to be. He was just that, that club, that Palpatine was using. But when Sam got his hands on this character and he just plays that trauma and that disconnect from reality, and we see it when we get back to when Savage gets him back to Dathomir, and Mother Talzin is like literally pulling the dark. Yeah, she's pulling the trauma. I was like, that's better than therapy. Can I, Mother Talzin,
give me some of that?
Can you book me an appointment? Can you pull some of that shit out of my head too? But it's just, speaking of Talzin, I'm sorry, again, I'm all over the place. When she made that collect call to Dooku coming out of his fucking body to FaceTime him, like, are you kidding me? We always talk about Vader, how he's able to force choke people across the TV. He did that to Admiral Ozzel and all that, right? We've seen that. But this was across wherever Dooku was. It was not right next door. And she did a Luke when Luke force projected, to fight Kylo, but Talzin did that and caused him physical pain, came up out of his guts, like, You're a bad witch. You are one bad witch.
And this was the zombies, the Night Sister voodoo call. I mean, this was some dark imagery for something that was getting a reputation. Yeah, you know, again, people were early on. You know, this is a cartoon. This is a kid show. It's we're getting deep, people. We're getting dark.
Getting deep. You're getting deep. Sorry. So coming back. So we find Maul in the cave. We've got Spider Maul, and it's just I almost felt bad for him. Because of his psychosis, you know, but also, you know, dude, brought on yourself. But as a man, I can feel that, you know, because he got his lower half chopped off and he didn't get it back. So he lost his saber. You know what I mean? I mean, he lost his little saber. I mean, I don't know if it was little. I'd like to think that Darth Maul was packing, but he lost his buddy. That would make me crazy too. Not just the fact that Kenobi cut him in half, but Kenobi caused the loss of his buddy. And I could almost feel for the guy at that point, because you just know. And then when Talzin gave him his new legs, I don't think she gave him a new like Robo Willy.
I thought it was interesting when she did that. You know, she reassembled him in using droid parts. You know, and just stripping what she needed. You know, the bare raw materials out of these droids who just wiped out her coven. And I always, you know, whenever I watch that episode, you know, that scene, I'm always, I fall into do my bad Forrest Gump and, you know, magic legs, because you know that was a very popular look for Maul, you know, in the alternate visions where he had the spring-loaded legs and he could run real fast. You know, he could do all these cool things with, you know, these like, but they're kind of, and I like the fact that they showed him when he first stood up. It wasn't like a perfect, like, oh, sure, this is just my new leg. He wobbled. He had to readjust. You know,
but man, he got that shit in seconds. I mean, that vengeance.
So, you know, Maul's such a Mary Sue. You know, I mean, just to be able to just do that.
Funny how that only works one way, you know?
Right. Oh my God. Yeah, he adapted very quickly.
And let's give credit. You know, Clancy Brown carried that first episode. You know, it was just Savage trudging along with this stupid snake, and it was like Ken John. I don't. We look up who played the snake in that episode.
His name is Ben Diskin.
Yes, Ben Diskin. Because at first I was like, man, you're sounding a lot like Lopan there from Big Trouble in Little China.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it was. I looked him up as well.
But you know, so Clancy Brown, you know, who again, has got a very just iconic voice. You know, whenever I hear Savage Opress, I'm like in Highlander mode. You know, he just sounds great.
Krabs mode. I'm just like, oh, that's Mr. Krabs.
Yeah,
I don't like Highlander as well. Yeah, but I'm like, that's Mr. Krabs. That's a hell of a range, isn't it? You're Mr. Krabs and then you're Savage Opress.
Yeah, and he was really the lead in to let Sam just do his thing, and the two of them together just have a great repertoire between them already.
They do, and I'm finding that I'm feeling bad for Savage, because again he's so lost. He's been so used and manipulated. He wasn't a bad guy, and that's the thing with Savage. Savage was tempered and forced into all of this. Savage was 100% violated, and he became this beast, this animal, but he just wants this brotherhood. He just wants family in any way that he can get it. And I feel so bad for him because Maul doesn't give a fuck about that. He doesn't give a fuck at all at this point. He's just like, all right, this is another, you know, a tool that I can use to get back at Kenobi.
I mean, not to much, you know, all that's true. I will also say, you know, he was told he was going to get to marry Asajj. And I know where my mind would go with that. And yet he didn't get that. So
that's right.
He's got plenty of reason to be angry.
I forgot about that. That's right. Oh yeah, I'd be a little upset about that too. That's
And it's interesting in the later fight, you know, when Asajj comes to the rescue, you know, they trade off. You know, Maul was doing a great job of unsettling Obi-Wan. He brought up Qui-Gon, he got him off his game.
Oh yeah.
And they switched dance partners, and all of a sudden, you know, Asajj is fighting with Maul, and Kenobi's fighting Savage, and the dynamic, you know, the hate shifts. You know, everybody's got a beef with somebody else, and then they switch dance partners in the middle of the fight, and that was a really cool, in such close quarters kind of. Okay, there's a lot of overlapping. We're getting telenovela here in a sec. There's a lot of overlapping storylines.
It was cool because we do see in that scene, like you say, we might as well jump to that episode too now. We're going all over the place anyway. But the choreography in that scene was great. And I don't know if this is ever intentional, but it's something that I've observed. You know, Palpatine always says, you know, well, he doesn't always say, but he said that, you know, your hate, your anger, it gives you focus. But every time we see someone in Star Wars fighting from a place of rage and anger, they're very sloppy, and it doesn't actually give them focus, whether they're walking on the dark side or the light side. And we see this with Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan is a professional lightsaber master. He is good. You know, he may not be the best, but he is still very, very good. And he was, like you said, he was off his game, but he tapped into his anger, and it made him less technical. It made him more sloppy. And I think that's what ultimately gave, you know, the brothers a leg up, because otherwise I think Obi-Wan may have been able to handle one. But the two of them together was just, it was too much.
Well,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Did you notice when he first showed up on that planet, you know, Maul sends the message, you know, come face me. And then, you know, I'm kidding. And let's, you know, we talked last week about how, you know, Anakin, you know, no matter what, you know, you killed children, man, that's not redeemable. Maul did it with glee. Maul did it with intent, and because he knew that would be what draws the Jedi's attention. And I'm like, you bastard.
Anakin did it out of a misplaced fear of loss. He did it to save Padme. Still inexcusable what he did, but at least there was a sort of selfless motivation behind it. He wanted to save Padme's life, but does Anakin want to save Padme for Padme, or does Anakin want to save Padme for him? Right. And I don't mean in like a possessive way, but he knows he's trying to protect his heart. He can't save anyone that he loves. And that's always been Anakin's greatest downfall, is his love, ironically. But with Maul, no, it was just bait to draw out Kenobi so he could slaughter Kenobi. And he wiped out an entire fucking village. Men, women, children. The little droid, that little R5 unit that we see.
Just banging into the wall.
How the fuck does a droid get PTSD? Because that droid was like, the things I've seen. And it's like, that poor droid. I was like, what? So it
just shows the difference between, there's always been a very, you know, fans like to compare Darth Maul versus Darth Vader.
Right.
And yeah, Darth Vader is the movie icon of evil. Darth Maul's just a bad dude.
He is.
And for whatever his damage is, I mean, he don't hold back.
No. And we, you know, we've nerds have debated this for years and years and years, you know, who would win in a fight, you know, Darth Vader or Darth Maul. And, you know, I'm of the belief that Vader would win it because he has more control, and Maul is just a rabid dog, you know. And I mean, we see that all the way up to the end. He's just a rabid dog. He lives like a dog and he dies like a dog. So, I mean, he's just all the way through to his core. He's rotten. But even knowing that, even though we know how rotten to the core Darth Maul is, fuck, man, I didn't see it coming that he would wipe out. Is he capable of doing it? Yes. But I mean, those hostages he had on the Hollow, presumably he decapitated all of them in one shot.
That was, yeah, they played the camera angle well to get it by the Cartoon Network censor. Yeah. But it was clear he publicly, he live streamed executed them.
He did
for the Jedi.
He did. He Talibaned them. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was. Tony, you're gonna say something?
I just you mentioned it's a debate about who would win, Maul versus Vader. I got a question for you guys. Who would win, Maul or Savage?
Ooh,
because obviously Maul is force sensitive and whatnot, but Savage has his own extra abilities.
It would be Maul. It would be Maul, because Savage has love.
Yeah,
for Maul, and that would be his undoing. That would be his weakness. He would let his guard down. Brother, I don't want to fight you.
Yeah, he'd be.
I suppose that's fair. But.
He'd be trying to negotiate to stop the fight, and Maul would just shred him without a second thought.
Maul cares only about Maul and getting his revenge on Kenobi. That's it. Any power play that he makes, any alliances he forges, it doesn't matter. It's all about his obsession. And I think that, and that's why I feel bad for Savage, is because he wants a brother. I think if Savage had it his way, the two of them would just go out and open a cantina somewhere. They would just kick it in the outer rim, have a little dive bar cantina somewhere, and just chill. But Maul won't allow it.
Well, and we'll see later, without giving too much away. Savage sees themselves as equals. He sees themselves as brothers. Yeah. Maul immediately goes for that hierarchy. Like we were saying about Dooku and Palpatine, where I'm the alpha, you're the beta.
Right.
I'm the master, you're the apprentice. And it's just, they had different goals, which is a great way to play off those two characters.
And and Maul, again, he is despicable, but we do see with him a masterclass in manipulation. He learned from the best, though. He learned it from Papa Palpatine, but he knows, and I'm sure he senses Savage's weakness, that is love, and he uses it to basically gain control. It's like one rabid dog, holding the leash of another rabid dog, and he's going to use Savage as his blunt instrument.
And notice, there are moments, and there'll be moments later, where Maul was privy to Palpatine's plan. When he's told that the Clone Wars are going on, it's like, oh, it's like when you miss a week of your favorite episode, your TV show, and you're like, oh, that thing happened.
So it started, and it started without me.
Yeah, and you could tell he was a man who sort of missed the boat in this grand scheme of Palpatine's, and he wants to find a way back in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that he misses his place in the hierarchy, but I think more so he misses his penis. I think that is, I mean, it's revenge on Kenobi. Like, his driving force is to get revenge on Kenobi for chopping his penis off. I think that is the takeaway. It's not being talked about enough. I don't think it's ever been talked about enough. And I think that's a disservice to storytelling, and it's a disservice to Maul's penis. I feel that I would be that crazed and angry as well. I think his penis deserves a place in the spotlight. That's just
add it to the wall of remembrance.
We should add Darth Maul's penis to the wall of remembrance. Yes, you are correct. I don't even have here. Where's there we go. Darth Maul's penis is going on the wall of remembrance. Poor little guy. Probably was tattooed up and everything. Anyway. So that's it. That's the end of that's season 4 wrapped up really, really well. Really, really well. We see Asajj out there loose in the galaxy, trying to find her moral compass. I mean, she has one. It's nice to know that. The brothers are out there just going to be wreaking havoc along the way. And then the rest of the gang is just prepping for season 5, as will we. So I always tell people season 4, just get through the first 3 seasons, and season 4 is where you're hooked. I mean, I don't want to say skip seasons 1, 2, and 3, but I mean, if you were on a desert island and you can only take one box set with you, I don't know. It might be it's a toss up between 4 and 7, because 7's a damn good fucking season as well. But we're getting there. All right, so season 5 is coming up next. Let's show, just because it is so good looking, let's show that that Darkness on Umbara image again. Man. And that's going to be a Star Wars Celebration Japan exclusive, but I'm going to steal it from the internet and print it out and put it in a frame, because damn. I'm sure it'll be available somewhere else too, but look at
and it's a great example of what this season did, in that it took the format of an animated Star Wars show and brought it to the level of a live action drama.
Yeah. Yep.
This was a very, we've been going on and on about how much we love this arc. This was when the Clone Wars got dark.
And I'm going to say it, and I know the gooners out there and the fandom menace, they're going to shit on me, but this was dark and gritty. This was a dark and gritty season. Prove me wrong. If you don't agree, prove me wrong. Why was this season not dark and gritty? And I'll tell you all the reasons why you're wrong, because we've got death, dismemberment, torture. It's just, there's some suicide in there. There's some self-saucing. I mean, it's
and we've got some new players. The Night Sisters. Mother Talzin is going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about Cad Bane. We've talked about the bounty hunters in general. Young Boba and his those guys are out there, but they're not really involved in the war. But they will be involved in future stories, and they're players in this drama now.
Mm-hmm. And again, Cad Bane, the greatest bounty hunter in the galaxy. Tony, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I did want to ask you guys, because I know you've seen this before, whereas for me this was the first time. Having now seen Mother Talzin assume that mist form, essentially, for me seeing it for the first time, it reminded me of the Mother and Acolyte doing the same thing.
Right. And
I'm curious for you guys who had seen this first, if you had made that connection or not.
Yeah, because they're, you've got their witches, the Acolyte, they're witches, they're employing, they have a similar connection to this. It's, a different form of the Force. So they do have that connection. And I thought it was really cool to see that. I don't think they were on Dathomir, though. I can't remember the name of the planet that they were on. But
they definitely weren't on Dathomir, but there was an interpretation that they were where they were because they left somewhere else.
Right.
So the question at that point would be, would that have been Dathomir, or
because there was clearly a Night Sister purge on Dathomir. So it's entirely possible that, this is like 100 years before that, so it wouldn't have been that purge, but they were escaping from something.
And there were schisms. Even the Jedi knew of witches and other Force sensitive wielding cultures. We'll find out. We'll see ones later on in Rebels. Even the Zeb's race has a very spiritual connection to the Ashland, they call it. And it was just sort of the same. You're right, and the Acolyte showed a little bit of it, and that there's more than just Jedi and Sith. There are other cultures. The Force may be all encompassing the universe, but everybody interprets the Force differently. Much like a lot of real world religions. We all have the same idea. We just give it different names.
Right. We're in for a ride. Season 5 coming up next.
I did look it up while we were talking. Quinlan did survive Order 66, and at a bare minimum was at least alive until 9 ABY.
All right. So he and Asajj could be kicking around and they could still be alive because I mean we are basically in the Mandoverse era currently. I mean that's where Skeleton Crew takes place. Yes, that's the same time frame as the Mandalorian. So we are currently in the Mandoverse era. So post Empire, pre New Order. So Quinlan and Asajj, they're out there somewhere. Maybe we'll meet their kid. How cool would that be? The child of Quinlan Vos and Asajj Ventress. What sort of hellish abomination might that be?
The child of the goth girl and the surfer boy. I love it.
Love it. All right. Hey, let's do some obligatory pimping. Homework. No homework, just to catch up on our past episodes. And we're gonna end up talking about when we're gonna take a little 2-week break. We're gonna come back and then we're gonna do we'll prep for season 5 and we'll talk about the state of Star Wars. We'll do that on our next episode as we kick off season 5 of the Clone Wars. So again, homework. Check out our past episodes. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, let them know. And we are going to do some pimpage. We got some, look at that. circleofnerds.com/merch for all of your nerdy, swarzy needs. And of course, if you're listening, check us out on YouTube if you want to watch us or wherever you get your podcasts. And let everyone know. You guys got anything on the way out?
Well, like one thing I always like to say, we said during Skeleton Crew, we're going to get ready for a new season of Clone Wars. When you're doing your homework and you start watching these episodes, and if we bounce into Tales, for certain stuff, enjoy the ride. I think the biggest thing at this point in this particular series, and just Star Wars in general, enjoy the ride. Don't overthink it. That's our job. We'll overthink it. We'll explain everything to you. Just have fun with it. That's what Star Wars really should be about as fans, and just enjoy the ride.
Well said. Well said. Tony, you got anything?
I'm just gonna say I know I've seen it all over my social media feeds, but I really now want to see a Star Wars musical. Any of our fans listening have heard the AI take on that. I think it's a lot of fun.
I can't do it. I survived a Star Trek musical, but I don't know if
I just saw that and I loved every second of it.
It was great. Surprisingly, I'm looking forward to the new season. Mm-hmm. But I love that show. It's a great show. But I can't. You can't. No, not with my Star Wars. I can't do it. No, I'll watch the Marvel, the Avengers musical. I'll watch that turkey. I know it's fake, but I would watch that before I would watch a Star Wars musical. Please don't. Just take that back, Tony. Like, just don't even take it back.
I mean, to be fair, it's not so much a musical as it is like a rock opera. But
absolutely not. I can't. I can't do it. No. All
right. Hey, each their own. It's okay.
Jeez, oh man, what's happening to the world? No, if that happens, if we get a Star Wars musical, I'm joining the Fandom Menace. It's gonna happen like overnight. I will pledge my loyalty to the Fandom Menace. I will bend the knee to those guys and just walk away from the whole thing. No, I can't. Oh man, and we were on such a positive note. Thanks for bringing the whole thing down.
Somebody should send you that clip from when they opened Star Tours at Disneyland and they had the big production with the musical number and all the dancing on stage.
Oh, I've seen it.
That's your fear. That's what
I've seen it. No, my fear is it turning into the what is it, that Star Wars dance party for the Kinect. Do you guys remember that game? It came out for like
I never played it, but I saw enough of it to go, oh my god, this was a bad idea.
It was so
I've never heard of this before, but
just look it up. It was was an Xbox game. It utilized the Kinect technology, and it was basically like those dance games where you have to like mimic the moves on screen. But they took pop songs, but then Swarzied them out. They changed the lyrics.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah. No. Okay. That's fair. Yeah. We don't want that.
You're seeing, and it's like you're seeing Boba Fett and Han Solo like doing like club moves, and it's just and stormtroopers in the background.
See now what they need to do, because like we have those type of Dance Revolution games, right? We have the Beat Saber game for the virtual reality system,
which is awesome. Yeah.
Why don't they combine those two and just teach us the choreography for these fight scenes?
Yeah, I would absolutely be down for that.
That would be a game.
Like if we had so instead of copying dance moves, we're copying the fight choreography from like the Duel of the Fates.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly.
I'd play that. I play that. So
they had that. They messed around. They had Vader had a game where it was one of those virtual reality gigs where you had to put the visor on. You're literally like Luke. You got this big clunky visor on. You got a joystick that's supposed to be your lightsaber.
Yeah,
and react to what's projected in your field of view. I couldn't do it. I'd have tripped several times. I'm just such a klutz. I did that one time in Vegas in one of those balls where you're supposed to walk, and I tripped like 3 times. I couldn't do it.
No, you just can't do it. There's been so many. Like there was like the Masters of Terrakasai game.
Oh, the Nintendo Wii had a Clone Wars game where you could literally fight as you played as Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, Ventress, Grievous, I think Yoda, and it was a Mortal Kombat. It was a fighter, and all you were doing was this.
Like, I don't want that. I don't want that. Like
nobody wants that.
Force Unleashed was one of the greatest Star Wars games ever made. It was so
the original Battlefront was just cinema.
Battlefront was great. Battlefront 2 wasn't bad. What is it? Jedi the Jedi Order game? Jedi Survivor, yeah. Cal Kestis, those are great games. Man, we should do that. We need to do like a Star Wars game episode where we kind of like run down our top picks of Star Wars games, the best and the worst. Because if we're talking worst, I can go back to Super Nintendo. There was an Empire Strikes Back game. I think might have been.
I remember that game.
Oh my god!
I majored in the old PC X-wing and TIE Fighter games. Remember those?
Oh, those were great. Oh, those were great. Those came out about the same time as I think Wing Commander.
Yeah,
and that was,
I've got that game on this little guy.
Oh shit! Well, I remember the Star Wars arcade game where it was like the black and green wireframe Death Star trench run.
Oh yeah, the original trench game.
Yeah, that was rough. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you guys. So thank you everyone for tuning in this week. We appreciate you. We do know that of course you could always spend your time somewhere else, but you choose to spend it with us. We've got a few people watching us live today on YouTube. We appreciate you for taking the time to watch us. If you're just now popping in, sorry, we're about to wrap it up. But go back and watch it anyway. Like once this publishes out, watch it. It'll be cool. So that's it. We also want to give a very special thanks to our active duty military members and veterans for their service and sacrifice. Things are weird for them right now. Weird for everybody right now. I mean, to be honest. So I will say that there's a lot going on in the world today. So what I will suggest is that you seek joy, seek out joy, and pace yourself. You don't have to try to consume all this media that's coming in. Things seem overwhelming right now. You're getting hit with a lot of information, both good and bad, all over the place. Take your time, take a breath, disconnect sometimes, seek joy, seek the company of like-minded individuals, and just breathe. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Just breathe. And remember the things that Star Wars has taught us. There is always hope. No matter how dark things may seem, there is always hope. Even if it's just from a small little under-equipped ragtag band of bright-eyed hopefuls, there's always hope. And even against the big bad empire, there's always hope. So just keep that alive. And remember, depending on what side of the fight you're on, being joyful is a form of resistance, because right now people want you to be mad. They want you to be scared. They want you to disassociate and just be completely overwhelmed and demoralized. Seek that joy. Don't let them do it. That's how you resist. That's how you fight back without going to the next level. But there you go. That's it. So if no one's got anything else, everybody good?
That was perfect.
Good. Yeah.
All right. So that's it. So always remember, folks, in addition to all that, my Star Warriors, if no one does anything nice for you, do something nice to yourself. And we're going to see you next season as we discuss season 5. And I am so looking forward to it. So, all right.
Yes.
Take care. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Maybe whenever I get this posted. Yeah. All right. Bye.